Welcome to Sex at 10. I'm Rebecca Rosenblat, certified relationship and sexuality therapist and your host, here to answer your questions on all things intimate. Whether you're stuck in a relationship dilemma, have issues with your body, trust, trauma, addiction, or orientation, or just need a little help with turning up the heat in your bedroom, give us a shout at 1-800-968-7836 and let's chat. Everything's fair game. If you thought about it, we can talk about it. Let's begin with a discussion on infidelity. And to help me with that, we're being joined by a world-class expert in the area, Dr. Doug Weiss. Dr. Weiss is a licensed psychologist, executive director of Heart to Heart Counseling Center, president of the American Association for Sex Addiction Therapy, author of various books, including Addicted to Adultery, and a frequent guest on various top shows such as Oprah and Dr. Phil. So it's indeed an honor and a privilege to have him joining us tonight for Sex at 10. Good evening and welcome, Dr. Weiss. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Rebecca.
Really looking forward to the interview. Dr. Weiss, it seems like every time you turn on the TV, infidelity is a running theme, making it appear rampant. So I'd like to begin the discussion by establishing how rampant is it?
Well, I think the statistics go anywhere from 30% to higher of married people will cheat on their spouse.
Wow. Are there any telltale signs?
Well, it depends what type of cheater they are. Some people cheat with absolutely no signs. They pretend in the marriage and they just act out anonymously. Some people have these emotional affairs in which they drain their emotions into the extra relationship and leave nothing in the marriage. And so for some people there are signs, and for some people they're totally caught off guard.
Wow. So there's nothing that people can look out for, but particularly because of those who can just lie through their teeth and they just have the second life, because I have many people, as I'm sure you do as well, that say one has nothing to do with the other and they tend to keep them separate.
Well, they try to do that, but it doesn't really go well once the other person finds out. And if you have to keep it a secret, you're already in trouble.
Right. Absolutely. Viewers, if you have any questions regarding subject matter, do call us right away. We're so fortunate that you're discussing such an important topic with us tonight, Dr. Weiss, since you've written a book about it, Addicted to Adultery, among scores of other publications. So can you briefly tell us what is your book all about?
Well, Addicted to Adultery is to really explain kind of why people cheat, the different types of cheaters, and offer them help depending on what type of cheater they are, so that they can actually, if they choose to, actually live a monogamous relationship with confidence and, a sense of their spouse being able to trust them again, because I have people fly from all over the world, and a lot of people from Canada come down and do 3- and 5-day intensives after they've been caught. And so putting the marriage together is what we do every day. And so the book talks about the problem, but then talks about the solution.
That's awesome. So people are these people where their spouse has kind of dragged them or insisted? Is it their bottom line? Or is this something where it's a wake-up call where they feel that we have to do something to save this relationship?
Yeah, there's a little bit of both. Sometimes it's the person themselves saying, you know what, I just got to stop this double life. This is driving me crazy. I've been doing it for years and years and years. Sometimes it's a crisis of getting caught with the prostitute's card or information, or getting caught, in the act, and that creates a crisis in the relationship. And then you got to reevaluate which lifestyle they really want to live. And so it's, just like your office, it's a variety of different things every single week.
Right, and it's also, you treat both addiction as well as just common adultery, so that right there would be different as well. Viewers, if either you or your partner has been involved in adultery, do call in with your questions and comments. Dr. Weiss, in your book, you talk about 6 types of cheaters. What are those types?
Well, it really helps to know kind of that there is a difference, like not one cheater fits all,
Right.
There's the hunter-cheater. This person really gets off on the hunt, trying to, they usually have a certain victim profile, especially if they're women, they tend to have a profile. Men will have a certain profile of type of person they're going after, whether it's wealth, body type, race, or whatever. So they're hunting for a specific thing. Then there's the hero or nice person cheater, and they're the person who wants to comfort you, tells you you're wonderful. They like to work you, but they like to be seen as good people before they perpetrate you sexually.
Wow.
And even if they leave because, they really have to be a good guy or a good girl and go back to their husband.
So that would be sneaky. That would be hard to find out.
Oh, it's a total con.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a total con.
You think they're just being nice to you, and you think that they're a friend, particularly when someone is feeling vulnerable because their relationship isn't doing that great. In comes somebody who's so caring, who's willing to listen to all your woes, and it's a con.
Oh yeah, men know listening is sexy. You know, so they just they listen to you. They want to talk about your feelings. They tell you how attractive you look. You know, if you were my wife, boy, I would never treat you that badly. I mean,
right.
You know, and you know it. You hear this all the time.
Right.
And then there's the hurt, wounded cheater. This person draws people into their sphere by being in pain or needing help. And then the person who's helping them is the person that they actually utilize for sex. The opportunist cheater, pretty much anyone, anytime, anywhere. They're just looking for the opportunity. They're the person who'll sit at the bar or go to Tim Hortons or someplace like that. If there's someone who gives them energy, they're on it. Doesn't matter what size, what color, single, married, age.
So they're not picky. They just see a moment, they seize the opportunity, and that's that.
They see willingness. To them, the opportunist cheater, the willingness is it's the blood to the shark. It's that, wow, you look at me, you think I'm hot? Yeah. Boom, okay. And so it's that. There's a professional cheater. This cheater only really likes professional services, and they're oftentimes trying to minimize any risk of getting caught, and so they don't mind paying for the service. Or they have the next type of cheater, which is also oftentimes professional, but not always, is the fetish cheater. They only want a very narrow type of sexual act, and they're willing to pay or get into a community that will provide that type of act. And so, these are different kinds of cheaters that can kind of do that. And then there's also the kind of cheater that we talked about earlier, like the person who's actually a sex-addicted cheater.
Right.
This is the person who is definitely someone who's using sex in a way that is addictive for them, and so cheating, they'll oftentimes cheat within their addiction style.
Right, and they're using sex for things other than pleasure or intimacy.
It's not about intimacy. It's about just getting off, and it doesn't matter depending on how they develop their addiction.
Right.
They're aiming at something specific as well.
Something very specific, and same thing with fetishists as well, because it's a very very narrow spectrum. It's a very specific event or specifics in the person's body or how they dressed, what have you. So they are singling people. And there's I'm sure in your city as well, in Toronto, there's a big fetish scene. And there's lots of people that kind of sneak off and they have play partners in the fetish scene, and their partner hasn't a clue. And the sense of entitlement and justification comes from, well, we're not really having any kind of genital sex, so what? But the primary relationship is still being depleted of its energy. Viewers, we're talking about some really serious issues tonight, so if you have any questions, do call in. It's a great way to get expert advice. Let's talk about how infidelity impacts the spouse next.
Yeah, that really can be huge. I mean, some of the major symptoms that we've seen in the research we've done, a book called Partners, which has to do with spouses of sexual addicts, is depression is a real huge, very common thing that happens to the spouse. Weight gain is a very significant thing, and huge impacts on their self-esteem.
Absolutely.
And so, sometimes the person doesn't even know the other person's cheating, and they still have these symptoms. Okay, because you think there's such a thing as a secret. You think you're getting away with something, but oftentimes you're staying immature in several very important zones in your life, and the spouse really suffers from that lack of immaturity.
In a big way. And a lot of the spouses that I work with, the sad thing is their emotional needs weren't met in their family of origin, so sometimes they don't even pick up on the emotional distance.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Trying to stay below the radar, so to speak.
Yeah, we have a lot of people who struggle with intimacy anorexia, so if they grew up in an intimacy anorexic home, they don't even know what intimacy is, then they marry someone who doesn't know what intimacy is, and they don't even know they're missing it.
So they don't know what they're missing at all.
Exactly.
Actually, we had shown a clip a few weeks ago that you'd done, really well done for the spouses and what happens particularly after disclosure. It was really well done. We have a caller, I believe. Marissa, good evening. What is your question or comment for us tonight?
Hi. My question is, I've been a serial cheater, and I've recently gotten into a relationship where my partner knows about my infidelities, and he understands all of what I've done in the past.
Okay.
And despite this, I'm still tempted to cheat, and I don't know what is wrong. I don't know if it's the excitement or the level of like secrecy. I'm not sure what it is, but do you understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Do you cheat in relationships, like you have long-term relationships with other people, or do you do one-night stands, anonymous encounters, and hookups on the internet?
Long-term relationships.
So do you, when you fall in love, are you high on that initial shiny stage where, you know, the hormones are raging and everything feels good, and as soon as you start to go into the commitment and attachment phase, is that when you're kind of done? Or are you high on the sex? What's going on?
That's a great question. I think I love the falling in love situation.
Dr. Weiss, what would you recommend for Marissa?
I would say you might want to do some research on love addiction, because you might be using sex as a way to get that kind of high in pursuit. You want someone to pursue you, discover you, and you're amazing and you're awesome and you're the best thing. But once you kind of get off of those chemicals, it's a different kind of chemicals, exactly what Rebecca was talking about, where you kind of move into that commitment phase. And you may be avoidant of intimacy. That may be what you're trying to avoid, because sex with intimacy might be scary for you. But it sounds more like a love addiction, because a love addict gets high on the pursuit, so a sex addict gets high on the sex. Right. And a cheater is usually looking for some kind of, different variable. And it sounds like you're pretty happy in the relationship you're in. So you might want to do some work on just seeing if it's a love addiction.
Yeah, Marissa, that would be really important. That's great advice, Dr. Weiss, because you might even want to talk to maybe an addiction therapist that specializes specifically in sex and love addiction. It would be really important to talk to someone like that, because they'll be able to help you differentiate as to what's going on. Why are you going there? They might want to do some family of origin stuff to see what is it that draws you to that, and why are you afraid of going into the next stage, particularly since you've met someone lovely and it sounds like you want this relationship to last. So if there's that fear there, I would strongly recommend that you go see a therapist. Thank you so much for your call. I hope you can find the answers that you're looking for. It was brave of you to call. Jason, we're going to you next. Good evening. Do you have a question or a comment for us?
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
What is your question?
My question is, I told my friend, Andrea, right? I told her it's too much. She got mad.
What is too much? Is she asking for too much sex, or what is too much? What's going on?
She asked me too much sex, and she wants me don't go sometimes home.
So is she possessive? She likes you around all the time?
She likes me around so much.
So what is your question, Jason?
She liked me around so much. Yeah, around so much.
What is your question, Jason?
I was telling you, she liked me so much around. I have a job. I can't just do my job because I think about her sometimes. Yeah, she asked me so much sex in bed, and she got very mad. Yeah, what should I do about that?
Okay, so it sounds like this person is maybe possessive, and you can't handle that they're in your space all the time. You know what, Jason, I would recommend that you have an honest conversation with this person, and if they are not able to hear it coming from you, maybe sit down with a third party, a friend, clergy, somebody you trust, respect, or maybe it's possible that you might need to sit down with a therapist so that you guys can gain clarity with respect to what's considered reasonable and what is unreasonable. I hope you find the answer you're looking for. Dr. Weiss, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that was perfect advice. I would definitely follow that.
So I hope that, Jason, you can do that, because I think it would be important to gain clarity as to who's being reasonable and who is being unreasonable. Dr. Weiss, we barely touched the tip of the iceberg. Will you be able to stick around after the break?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I want to talk a little bit more about this, and I also want to find out a little bit more about your book, because I know it's absolutely brilliant, and you talk about recovering from infidelity, and that's the important part. So I'd like to come back to that in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back. Keep your calls coming, and let's discuss sex, relationships, romance, or whatever else rocks your boat. And keep it locked on Rogers TV, because we have lots more great stuff still ahead, including your calls. So pick up that phone and call so we can connect.